If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Central Valley Talk. My name is Ray Johns. I'm your host, and the name of my show is Voices Not Yet Heard. And like we say every week, perhaps this might be just the week where your voice will get heard. I've got a special guest I'm going to introduce in a few minutes, but I want to thank all the people who called and emailed when I was having my eye operations, both of them. I really appreciate it. And for my three friends that were really, really sick. Don Ferris is completely rid of cancer thanks to all you prayers, the prayers that came in. I think there was like maybe 10 churches that he was on a list, or 12 lists that we got him on. And so he's completely, I talk to him almost every day via email. So thank you so much for all your kindness, all your words of encouragement, because I really appreciate them. It's fun to be back. As you can see, I'm once again in the glasses. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to talk to you about two things. I want to send two shouts out before one goes to Fogg, Dr. Fogg, who did an outstanding job on my if you have any eye problems at all, I urge you to go out there to the eye clinic. He is a wonderful, and there's four of them, three including him, and they're all outstanding. But he's the one that operated on me both times, and he is just unbelievable. Yeah, I make him laugh. I call him the Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays of eye surgery. But he's really quite a man. And of course, the other shout out goes out to the fact that, well, let me just say this real quick. My best friend is in the audience today. I'm looking right at him. He's all the way down here from Spokane, Washington. It makes me so happy that he's here. I'm just thrilled to death. And so I'll get to it's a first, and I didn't see him until he walked into the studio. So because I was supposed to meet him last night and didn't. Anyway, we've got a wonderful show. I want to introduce you to Mark Belman. So Mark, we're gonna talk about just about everything. You know, I'd like to start talking about some things that have been going back and forth about Kim Jong-un. You know, I think that I'll tell you different things that I've heard. One thing is that I think he thinks that China backs him totally. I think he believes that. I don't think they can afford to back him.
Well, I would agree with that in light of the sanctions that are starting to happen against North Korea. Mm-hmm. And China coming in saying that they are going to actually back the sanctions which are going on with the United States and cut out money going to North Korea. And as far as what he can do about that is he basically, with his stance of trying to be a power in the world and using threatening language and being basically a rogue nation that is very dangerous, he is going to cripple his own people.
Well, of course he is.
And when you have somebody like that who's making those type of boasts, you wonder, well, will he back down, or will he continue to do what he's going to do? And with somebody who is that unpredictable, you have no idea.
I don't think the man's an idiot. You know, I mean, he might be. I mean, I can't see him. Actually, he knows. I mean, he's got sense. He knows this was just like Mad Dog Mattis said. It'd be a 15-minute war. It'd be over. You know.
Yeah, but you look at that, and you look at what Saddam Hussein did.
Yeah.
And Saddam Hussein, he was given every chance to leave the country and be able to survive and live. Instead, he chose to stay and fight. Mm-hmm. He had every opportunity to do the best thing that was for his country and didn't do it.
Yeah.
And that is a very typical pattern when you have people who are basically single rulers, socialistic rulers. They don't want to lose that power, and they think their power is going to be everlasting.
A la Hitler.
A la Hitler, sure. And in his part of the world, his father and him, they are seen to be godlike. Mm-hmm. So they almost feel like they are almost indestructible. And so when you have people like that, Yeah, the choices are you can back down, or if you escalate this in any manner, the whole world will come down on you. Not only will you lose your country, but you will die. And they have no problem doing the latter, I think.
Good point, Mark. By the way, I'm going to tell you how I met Mark. I joined GB3 about 11 months ago. I weighed 205. I weigh 178 right now, I think. And my very first day of spin class, which is an hour of cycling, Mark was about 4 down. He was watching me the whole time, and I was dying. I must have stopped about 3 or 4 times. And it was his encouragement that got me there. And now I'm back, huh, Mark?
Well, I looked down and I saw this old black guy ready to fall off the bike. I didn't know he was just sweating profusely or having a heart attack. And I had to tell him because these instructors are just they're brutal.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to burn 800 calories off in an hour, you can, but you can't do it the first day. So I look over and here he is, and it's like I was going like that guy's just going to fall off that bike. And I said, hey, why don't you just pedal easy for the hour and see if you can make it through? And he did, and gosh, it's been 2-3 months now.
Yeah.
And now he keeps up with everybody. In fact, I'm trying to keep up with him.
Oh, that's
how good he is.
He is a tennis pro too, by the way.
When I started, he weighed 205. I weighed 350 pounds, and I've lost 100 pounds, and I'm in very good shape. But see, when you get old, you can't do the treadmill anymore and run because your body can't take it. So we do easy things like the spin class.
And it's fun. It's fun. I'm totally addicted to it.
Oh,
it is great.
It keeps me in shape, and at my age.
And Mark is great because he makes comments all the time and during the whole class. So
yeah, I'm still waiting for the instructor to bring the donuts at the end,
yeah,
rewarding us for
the
our hard
donuts,
work. But it's just not happening.
Okay, what do you think? Do you think that China will step in and
Well, I think at some point China may have to step in, but they also, I think they have the advantage that if they don't step in, the problem, the onus of the problem falls on the United States, Japan, South Korea. Mm-hmm. Now, we need their help almost as much as they need our help, because if there is a disaster there, a war there, the refugees are going to go to China, and they're going to have a big refugee problem. But on the other hand, China holds a little bit of the cards because they know that we need their help in managing this conflict. Yeah. So, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of give and take, but right now they're cooperating because a nuclear North Korea is not good for anyone.
No.
Especially with somebody who is so unpredictable as this ruler is.
Right, you're very well said. Very, very well said. Yeah, you don't know what to think. You really don't. I don't think he would push it to that point, but like you said, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah,
this guy's
very, very unpredictable. And but line since Clinton and Bush and Obama, we have used. You never run out of using the diplomatic approach. Yeah. In fact, you would want it to be that way.
Oh, of course.
And I don't think anything will be done to them unless they engage in some type of warfare. Yeah. I don't think any other country is going to start it off, but they will defend everybody around there and themselves.
Yeah.
And if their ballistic missiles do have the capability of hitting the United States, we are in grave danger.
Yeah. Well, and you think about just their neighbor. I mean, you got South Korea, you got Japan. Between those two, there must be, a couple 100,000 Americans over there, 100,000 anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And plus all the bases, like in Guam.
Oh, Guam, yeah.
Guam.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break here, Mark, and we'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, in, say, 2 and 2.
And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Okay, I'm back with my guest, Mark Belman. And Mark is an educator, among other things. He's also a tennis pro. I asked him to teach me how to play tennis, and I could tell he was trying to keep from laughing. But he's agreed to do it, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, what is going on with our educational system? I mean, I'm going to just start with this, and because I didn't know this until halfway through the campaign, someone made me aware of the fact that they do not recite the Pledge of Allegiance in schools anymore.
Well, it depends. You know, when I was in Clovis Unified, we did every day.
Yeah, well, that's...
I don't know what Fresno Unified does, or any of the other districts. Where I sub now in Fresno Christian, of course, they recite the Pledge of Allegiance. So, as far as my knowledge, I have not heard that.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I heard that, and I asked a couple. In fact, there's an educator. She's coming on after you in about 3 weeks. She's in our class too, real thin, like most of the people in there are thin. Anyways, real thin gal, and she was telling me that. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either until you just brought it up.
Well, tell us a little bit about the educational system and how you see it now. And do you see it? Is there a way to change it? Tell us what's going on, because I don't know.
Well, when you and I went to school, there was a code you went by. I mean, you had to follow rules. And I think there was more support from the parents that there are now.
Absolutely.
What I see now in a lot of cases, now it's not every case, but we have parents who will, if their kid doesn't get what they want, the parents come after the teacher instead of making the student accountable for what they have really done.
I've heard that.
You know, it's almost like that we've gotten into the mode of, you can't blame my kid, it's your fault that my kid is not succeeding.
Yeah.
Educators, I think, nowadays are almost to the point they're the one raising the kids. Sometimes.
No, I bet I would imagine that's a big part of especially in the inner cities, wouldn't you say?
You know, especially in inner cities, especially in the even some in the rural areas here in California, or rural areas, and you know, the schools have to feed the kids breakfast, they have to feed the kids lunch, they do everything possible to help these kids along, and I'm an advocate. If somebody is not eating, let's make sure we take care of them.
Especially a child.
But I've talked to educators when they have parent-teacher conference. Parents show up in pajamas. And if the kid's not doing well, they are berating the teachers. There are times where they wait for, in some of these districts and educators I know, that they wait for the parent to finally come pick up their kid, and they're calling the parent till 5 o'clock. Even though the parent has to be there at 3. And also, everything is a reflection of what goes on at home. I have a friend who was in the Hanford district, kindergarten teacher, has little kids telling her to F off. I mean, I think the responsibility nowadays has to be back with the parents. But then again, we have a lot of single-parent families, and they are not as involved as they were when you and I were growing up. If I did anything wrong, I found out about it when I got home.
Absolutely.
Now, and everybody's seen that little comic where, you know, before and the parents are yelling at the kid, and then you should see another picture of now where the parents are yelling at the teacher. But I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, educators are very afraid of lawsuits. And I think a lot of the leadership, they lead by not trying to get into lawsuits. And so when you have these educators who are afraid to set absolutes, then all of a sudden,
that's interesting. Yeah.
All of a sudden, that gets taken advantage of because they're afraid to say no.
How sad is that?
Well, it's a reflection. I think it's a reflection of our society today. Right. And I think it's a reflection. Sometimes we need to have stronger leadership to be able to say no.
Yeah.
But when we live in a world, a postmodernism world, where there are no moral absolutes, we're living in a world of moral relativism, then they don't want people to say yes or no, or here's a standard. Because in postmodernism, which we're seeing a lot of now, you can create your own reality.
Sure.
There is no wrong and right.
Yeah.
So if somebody tells you you're wrong, but this is your reality, then how can your reality be wrong?
Can't.
Yeah, you can't. So, I mean, it's a very tough environment for educators. And almost in education, I would almost say that educators should be able to wear like those cams,
Yeah.
those or a camera to show what's going on in the classroom.
What can be done about that, though, Mark? Is there a way of changing that? There's got to be. I mean, it sounds awful.
You know, I don't. You know, it's not as bad as I'm pushing out the bad part.
Yeah.
But to make kids more accountable.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, kids can say whatever they want. Then the parents get upset at the educator. And the due process sometimes for these educators is not very good. Because sometimes the problem isn't reprimanding the kid, but it's reprimanding the educator.
I can kind of see what you meant that day when we were talking, we were talking about the banana peel incident, by the way, at the club. And I think I made the comment to Mark. I said, when are we going to quit allowing the students to dictate to the staff and the administration of our higher universities how to run the schools? And Mark said, I think it's done on the lower level too, and that's true in a sense.
Yeah,
just
it
what
is.
You told me.
It is.
Yeah.
But it all begins at home. There has to be a little bit more respect for what the educators are doing, and it takes strong backbone from your superintendents, your principals, to stand up more for the educator.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they're too afraid
Like
of the
you said, because of
repercussions
the lawsuits
because
and stuff,
they don't want to lose their job either.
Yeah.
Because it does tend to escalate.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take another break here and go pay some bills. And we'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, in 2 and 2.
To Minnesota, to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. But I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless.
Okay, I'm back, and I've been laughing on and off camera here with my best friend Eric, and we've been telling stories, and it's just so much fun. I can't begin to tell you what a great day this is, just having him here. It makes me feel so great. And I've got Mark Belman with me, and as you can tell, he's pretty sharp, so we're going to hear a little bit more from him and see if maybe he can enlighten us and inform all of us about different things. What do you think about Donald Trump's progress so far?
Being a person who's an advocate of smaller government, I like what he's doing. When I vote for a candidate, the things I look for, are they smaller government or bigger government? When we look at somebody like Bernie Sanders, who is
Totally
basically
different.
basically a
Yeah.
socialistic platform, I like my freedoms. And when you have somebody who is so socialistic or pro big government, when government starts telling you what to do, you lose your freedoms.
Exactly what our forefathers were afraid of years
Yes.
and years ago. That's the main thing they were afraid of.
And what I like about the platform that Trump ran on is we have more freedoms, or we will be able to retain more of our freedoms. I know the health care issue is an important issue.
Sure it is.
And I don't like to see anybody go without health care because, it's very important. But for me, I have to buy individual care. Well, at my age, and I sold health insurance for a year, so I know how much health insurance should cost for me for my age, which should be about $450. Well, my premium, because of Obamacare and this Obamacare, is almost $800 a month.
Unbelievable.
I don't
Twice
think
what it should
I don't
be.
think people understand that. When you're on a big group, if it goes up to $200 or $250 a month or $300 or even $400 for you and your wife and your 2 kids, that's not a bad deal.
No.
But I'm talking about individual
Individually,
coverage.
yeah.
And even within the individual coverage that we're having now, I had Anthem Blue Cross. Well, that's leaving the state for individual coverages, so now I have to switch over to Blue Shield or go over to Kaiser Permanente.
So it goes up. Will it go up again? Will it be more now?
I hope not.
Yeah, I do too.
I'll find out when I go through the renewal. And that is, I have the premium coverage.
Mm-hmm.
The next coverage, which I have what they call I think the platinum, the top one. If I go to the gold or the silver, I have a $4,000 to $6,000 deductible.
Oh my goodness!
Now, when I had my own coverage before Obamacare, I had a $2,000 deductible, and they were both 80-20 coverages. So, the insurance company, once you paid the deductible, paid 80% and I paid 20%.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at deductibles between $6,000 and $8,000 before the insurance even kicks in. And it's hard, it's hard to afford. Now, I know my money's going to help somebody else. When you pay that much, some of it's going someplace else. But is that fair to me? Why does my deductible have to double or triple? And the point I'm making is, when you have a competitive structure and I have the free will to go pick what I want, I can get a better insurance for a better price. And for me, I like that type of freedom. I like the freedom of being able to have a gun.
Yeah.
I like, and there are certain freedoms you start to give up once you start letting big government take control of things. And so, as far as...
Which is the way we were going with the last administration.
Well, and it was going that direction. And Bernie Sanders has taken it to even a further direction. Now they're talking about like single payer. Well, then the government has total control over every aspect of the healthcare system. One of the things with some of the for the healthcare system is everything has to be approved by the insurance before it can get done. My coverage I had before, which I picked out, was what they would call customary and usual. Meaning if I went to the doctor and the doctor said, yes, Mark, you need to have this done, they could make a phone call that day, and since it was customary and usual, then if the doctor said it had to be done, it was going to be covered. Now, with a lot of the insurances now, you have to go through the insurance company to see if they will okay a procedure. And there are times they will not okay a procedure if they don't think you need it. So I had the freedom of picking insurance where the doctor had the choice of what was best for my health, making that decision. Now, can that be taken advantage of? Sure, it can. But I'd rather have the doctor, when I walk into the doctor's office, good example. If I was a woman and I went in the doctor's office and the doctor says, you have a lump on your breast, we're going to call in and see if we can get that taken care of. If it's customary and usual, it's done right away. Now, if it's the insurance company saying if you need that procedure, they can wait 2-3 months before that's okay. Now, if I'm a woman, Would I want
Absolutely not.
to find out that that lump's going to get bigger?
Oh my
so I
gosh,
mean,
how
so I
awful.
mean, and there's a difference. And like I said, I had this insurance, and I had the freedom. I had the freedom to buy what I felt was best for me, not what the government thought was best for me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think sometimes politicians are so out of touch because they think they know better than everybody else. And if we look at some of the tactics,
There you go.
I'm a deplorable because I think a little bit different, and I think outside the box. Now I'm a deplorable, or I'm a bigot, or I'm a racist, or I'm a homophobe, or I'm a misogynist. But I'm none of we're none of those things. And when you don't walk the party line,
You get labeled.
Now I'm just
Yeah.
going to put this mildly. In Nazi Germany, the Jews were regulated to vermin. They were the pits of the world. They were the deplorables. Now, we look at what's going on in today's society. If you don't adhere to the far left, they're putting you in the same category. And they're acting like, who's acting like the Nazis now?
Sure.
They start putting people, if you don't agree with them, in categories. And unfortunately, none of those people, if you have a different position, we're not that way. And this is what I think a lot of people are being so turned off by the far left. Because
you have got to come back on this show.
Yeah, because we are not that way. We just have
Absolutely.
a different opinion of how government should be run. Why are we being reduced to something that's basically malfunctional, that there's something wrong with you? Well, there isn't. We just have a different opinion. That's why we vote. That's why we have different parties.
They're so easy. They're so quick to label, aren't they?
You know, it's funny. If you look at history, the people who've done like Nazi Germany, they labeled the Jews.
Sure.
If you did not agree, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was thrown in jail for standing up. And if anybody does know Dietrich Bonhoeffer, he was a Lutheran pastor in Germany who got thrown in jail because he opposed the German regime.
I'm
the
very
Nazi
surprised
regime.
he wasn't killed. Well, he died there, didn't he?
You know, I don't know if he died in jail or not, but some of the most beautiful writings he wrote from prison. So anyhow, yeah. So I like freedoms. I don't want somebody to tell me I'm a deplorable, I'm a misogynist, I'm a homophobe, you know, because we're not.
So easy to put labels on. So very easy to do that.
But remember when Romney ran for president and he talked about the 48%? Well, my gosh, how terrible was that? How could he say that about those people? But it's being done back the other way.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it right if anybody's
It
doing
doesn't
it.
matter
Doesn't
who-
make it right.
It doesn't matter. You're right.
But that's why we have different political parties, and that's why we vote. So we can express our opinion, the freedom to do that.
You know, I was talking to someone, in fact, in the club one day, and I forgot this gentleman's name, but we talk all the time. It seems like we're always next to each other on a machine or something. And we were talking about the situations and the people that and he said, you know, I think if Donald Trump ordered a Hershey candy bar, they'd find some fault with it.
Yeah, and that's I think that's part of the plan.
Sure it is.
You blame the Russians, you hold up everything in litigation, you sue the government, and do everything possible so that plan cannot go through. Blame him for everything.
They did all that stuff about hacking and you know and them being involved in the voter fraud. Come to find out, it was all nothing. You know,
Yeah.
absolutely nothing. But so many of the people bought it because of the media.
Well, even he got blamed for what was a hurricane, the one in Florida recently by the actors from the Hunger Games saying, well, this is because all those people who voted for Trump, this is Mother's Nature way of getting
my
back to them.
gosh,
And I'm
somebody actually said that?
yeah. The gal who was in from the Hunger Games said that.
Oh, that's right. I heard that. Yeah.
And you just,
And-
I mean, and it's like, and there we go again. Even Mother Nature is against him.
Hey, what happened to all those Hollywood people that were going to go to Canada when Trump got elected? Where are they? They're still here, huh? Why are they still here? Because there's money here, that's why. That's exactly why they're still here, because this is a land of opportunity and they know it. I tell people all the time, look, this is the greatest country in the history of the world. We're all fortunate. I am so grateful that I'm an American. And if you're not grateful that you're American, then get the hell out, go to a third world country and see how fast you come back to America.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've talked to people, friends from Egypt, and they came over, and he was telling me that his mother, there's this preconception of, Americans are just bad people. Mm-hmm. And he brought his mother over. She couldn't believe how nice Americans are. And we can get into a discussion about the travel bans and all that one of these days. But America's a great country.
I met a wonderful young Persian man at the gym, and I've seen you talking to him. I can't think of his name. I think it's Omar or something like that. Wonderful man. He talks to me all the time. We're in the sauna because I finish the day. I'm so exhausted. I go sit in the sauna every single day. I love it. One of these days I'm going to have one of my own. I just love the sauna. But anyway.
That's because he's worn out after the spin class.
That's true. That's true.
He takes off after spin class for about 10 minutes and he goes outside and
I take a 15-minute break. I sit in the car and I listen to a tape for 15 minutes. And it's usually somebody like Joel Osteen or somebody really positive, and then I go back in and do. My routine is this: I get there early before spin class, and I do 40 minutes. I do the spin class, and I have to take a break.
Yeah, and the joke is if he's not back in 15 minutes, we go look for him.
Oh my goodness, it's a great bunch of people over there. Absolutely great.
Yeah, and the United States is the greatest country in the world. My grandparents were immigrants. They were Russian Jews who came in. Actually, they got here in 1906.
Oh my God, your grandparents?
In fact, I have a copy of the ticket that they came in off of.
Oh, how wonderful!
And
the treasure.
Because at the time the Cossacks were pogroming the Jews.
Yeah.
And they had to get out. And they came through Turkey on a German ship and they came through Ellis Island. And the things that they had to prove before they got here, and the list to get in was quite extensive. What are some of the things?
Mark, I'm curious.
They had to be sponsored.
Okay.
They had to show proof of employment.
Mm-hmm. They had here when they got here. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
As they came here, they had to have a job. And that's one of the nice things about the United States, that we have taken in a large quantity of people.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes the United States very, very unique. Mm-hmm. You don't see people from the United States going to become citizens of other countries. No. And one of the reasons is because of the freedoms that we have.
Sure it is. Oh,
the opportunity to excel. But when they come here, they have to be able to synthesize the idea of what America is all about. And what we see within the multiculturalism in the United States, not that multiculturalism isn't bad, it's huge in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Of course it is.
But when you have different cultures saying, we're not going to live by the culture of the United States, or we're going to do our own thing, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, one group's doing this, the other group says, well, I should be able to do this, instead of working into the idea of what America is all about and what it means to be an American.
I did a show, it must have been 6 or 7 months ago, and I talked about, can you imagine, now this is a great fantasy, but can you honestly imagine what would happen if we lived by the Constitution as it was written? I mean, if everyone in this country absolutely united, can you imagine the progress this country would make? Mm-hmm. It would be phenomenal. It would be absolutely phenomenal if we all got on the same page. And it's one of those things that people say is impossible. I don't believe in impossibilities. I think it can be done. We may never see it in our lifetime, but I think man is smart enough that he's going to do it. I do.
Well, you have a lot more faith than I do. I mean, just because
maybe you're just a realist, Mark, and I'm not too.
I don't know. But the United States is a great country,
yeah, okay.
we want to do everything to keep it a great country. Back to the example of my grandparents coming over. The price of the ticket that they bought at the time was, I think, $250, $300. That's for him, his wife, and his kids.
Oh my goodness!
Now, we figured out how much that would be today.
How much?
About $50,000.
Oh my gosh!
To come to the United States and go through the proper process. And they were vetted. They were vetted before they came over. They had to do all the paperwork.
I met that young man, a young Persian man I was talking about, and we were sitting in the sauna, and he told me, he said, there are so many people in my country just can't wait to come to America. That's the whole key thing. We want to come to America. He said, we got a one-type government system over there, and
Yes.
that's it, And he said, we can only go so far. You can only go so far. And everybody over there knows about the freedoms of America, and they want to come here where it's unlimited,
And I have a lot of friends who are Russian or have come from other countries, and it's the same thing. They sit down and talk, and they can't believe that we're ready to give up the freedoms they have because they came here for the freedoms that we do have.
Absolutely.
So it's hard for them to even fathom, especially people who came from the former Soviet Union that I know. They're saying, why do people here want to be like the Soviet Union used to be? They have no idea. And when we talk about socialism, we might as well be talking about communism.
Yeah.
You either do what the state says, or you might end up in the gulag.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyhow, it is a great country.
I love it. I tell you, I have my own way of praying. I pray probably differently than a lot of people, but I don't think there's a day go by that I don't thank God that I was born in this country. I could have very easily been in a third world country someplace, struggling,
That
instead of having the opportunities that I have today, and still have, and always will have.
And that's such a great point. Is bad as we might have it, it's better than a lot of people in the world. We're even some of the poorest situations here are better than some of the situations in third world, and it's a blessing.
I read this in the Wall Street Journal years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, that if you make this is unbelievable. If you make $1,400 a year, it's a little more than $100 a month, you're wealthier than 70% of the world's population.
Yeah.
Amazing, just an amazing stat.
And the United States is a very blessed country.
We are.
And what we do for other nations. If there's an emergency, we're there.
Absolutely.
If there's relief, we're there. We we feed the poor?
Absolutely.
Yeah, in this country, we do. We have programs that reach out to take care of the poor. And I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I think welfare is a great thing, unless it's abused.
Unless it's abused. Yeah. It's a necessary thing.
And, that's what makes this country, another thing that makes this country so great. So, anyhow.
We're going to take a little break here, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be right back in another 2 and 2. I forgot where the camera was. I'm back with my good buddy Mark, and we've had a very interesting show. I'm thrilled to death, like I said, because my best friend is here from all the way from Spokane, Washington, he and his lovely wife, and I'm just thrilled to death that he's here. And I'm thrilled to death that Mark's here. Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you if you'll come back and join us sometime.
Yeah, but I got to know what we're talking about, man. You're just catching me with all these questions. I'm just like...
we were fine.
Stunned.
We'll be fine. We really will. Every week I kind of close out the show and we talk about, there was a couple other really bad shootings this week across the nation where a couple of law enforcement officers lost their lives. So they won't be sitting down at Thanksgiving dinner and opening presents at Christmas with their families. And I find that so sad. I find it extremely sad. And that's why every single week I ask you if you will please, when you see a policeman, go up and thank him and tell him how much we appreciate what they do for us, because they're wonderful. I think it makes it'll make you feel good. My other co-host a couple of weeks ago said he did it, and he's starting to do it. I try to do it every single day. You find one, and they appreciate it, because so many people say so many bad things to them. It's kind of nice to have somebody come up and say something positive and mean it and wish them well. I always tell them to be careful, and they always smile, or I try to joke with them or say something, Yesterday, I think I was coming out of the gym, and there were two of them driving by, and I said, wait a minute, and they stopped the police. I said, you need to come in here and do some curls with me. And they said, we'll be right back. They took off. But anyway, it's fun to react with them and make them feel that they're a great part of the community, because without them, we're nothing. We need them. Mark has agreed to come back. It's the end of the show. I want to thank you, and thank you again for all the letters and the prayers for all my friends, Don Ferris in Arizona, who was a pitcher on that same baseball team, Eric.
That's right.
He's a pitcher on that same baseball team where we went up and got the car all stuck and stuff. Anyway, I'm glad to be back. I'll be back next Friday at 3 o'clock, like I am every single Friday, and I look so forward to it. So until we meet joyously again next Friday at 3 p.m., heaven's blessings.